welcome to my channel. I'm Nicola and I'm in my second year of growing cut flowers. I want to do all of this as economically and productive as possible, and obviously getting beautiful flowers at the end of it to to put in my house and share with friends. So if you have the same goals, then please stay tuned, watch the videos and see whether we can learn together. Hi, it's the beginning of March and still too early, or too cold even, to start doing things, planting out and doing anything in earnest. So it's still tidying up jobs. So today you've got me in my greenhouse, and the jobs for the weekend are to create a temporary shelf system in the greenhouse to put the dahlias as they start to sprout. Perhaps even potting the dahlia tubers up so that they can at least start thinking about sprouting, and then maybe sowing some more seeds so we're good to go for spring. I did plant some seeds at the end of February, and I found some more of the same varieties that I'd bought and stored somewhere else for some reason. So my organisation of my seeds went a bit awry, but I found some more, so I might plant those up. But the first job is to create the shelf, so I've got somewhere to put the dahlias, because last year I had them on the soil side of the greenhouse where I normally plant tomatoes, which I still will plant tomatoes, but at the moment they've got ranunculus in there, and so obviously I can't put the dahlias on top of that, so we need somewhere else. So underneath the existing shelves I'm going to create a new one. I'll show you what I mean. So this is the existing shelf that we've got. I've got a little one at the top, so I can put seed trays up there. I've got the big shelf, and then I've got a big space underneath with nothing, although it's got all my rubbish in there. So I don't want the shelf I don't want the dahlias to sit right on the ground, because they may be attracted, or slugs may be easily attracted to them, and I don't want that to happen. So I need something raised up the ground. And the reason why it needs to be temporary, or the problem that I have, is this permanent shelving has these arms on them, so I can't have the shelf any higher than when the arm starts coming up. So it's always been a bit of a challenge, but I think I found some boxes, wooden boxes, that will be the perfect height to raise it off the ground and still have room around all of this structure. The shelf I am going to use is, I don't know whether you can see in the background, that's the other side of the greenhouse is my potting area. Is that the right word? Storage for all plants. So I harden off my plants over there. They're near the greenhouse, so I can bring them back in if cold days come in. I can also drape over this green, I'm going to call it a fleece. It's actually builder's rubble material, but it provides enough of a protection in a mild frost. So I can just drape that over the top shelf, and the plants will be in the lower shelf, and so there's a bit of protection so I can move plants on. And there is a bit of corrugated iron leaning up against the hedge, and that is going to be my makeshift shelf that's going to come in the greenhouse. I've measured it up, it's 8 foot long, and I had a sudden panic because I thought the greenhouse was only 8 foot long, and I thought, it's going to be a tight squeeze. Measured the greenhouse, I've got a 10-foot greenhouse, so we're okay, we're good to go on that. And then maybe once the dahlias are all finished, so I might make it as a roof for the compost beds, so that it prevents them getting too wet and blocking out all of the air that's in it, which is important for the composting. So that's my first job, is to get this shelf set up so I've got somewhere to put the dahlias if I get round to potting them today. Hopefully this won't take too long. Let me get started. Okay, the boxes are in position. They're two old wine boxes that seem to actually be the perfect height when they're on the side like that. I was looking for something to balance that were the same height for quite a while, and these were staring me in my face. So I think this is going to work fine. I just need to tackle getting that corrugated iron in here now. This could be where it all goes horribly wrong, and I start smashing the greenhouse up. But hopefully we won't. Hopefully the next time you see it, it will all be in place. I'm not going to film myself doing it because that is a recipe for disaster. So just one moment. Well, that was so much quicker and easier than I was expecting. I thought that the top would be a lot heavier, so it's going to be more of a challenge, but actually it was quite light, easy to get out from the back of the hedge there, and actually fits perfectly. So I've got enough space at each side to put taller stuff, and I think that should be ample for my dahlias. It's certainly bigger than the table that I had last year, which is out here. So that's the table, a bit wobbly. That's the table that we had last year, and that I think was sufficient for them last year. I've gained a few more this year, so actually that should be perfect. Really pleased that's done. Excellent. Now on to potting them up, I guess. Okay, we're on to the final job of the weekend, and that's to pot up some dahlias. It's currently the 6th of March. I noticed last year that I had all my dahlias potted up by the 12th of March. And they took quite a while to sprout, so it is early, so there is no rush to do this. But I'm having to go away in towards the end of this week, and it could be for a week or so. So I just want to make sure they're in and sorted, and they can do what they want to do when they want to do it, but then there's no rush for getting back to sort them out. So that's why I'm doing it now. I'm going to be doing it in the potting shed, and this is where the plethora of all of my pots will come into their own, because that's the only real thing that I would pot up into a pot these days. So we'll be doing that. I need to get the compost ready, need to get the dahlias out and see where we get to. I'll show you where they're being kept at the moment. So we have a barn, and this is where it is. You'll find if you do no dig, then you end up storing boxes, lots of cardboard required for it. So these will, when I create my next bed, all of this will be used for that. And then once the dahlias go, I can tidy up a bit in here. So this pile down here is all of my dahlias. So hidden underneath the cloth, that is the dahlias that we need to pot up. So there was quite a few from last year, and I've bought some extras. So we'll see whether I've got enough compost for a start, or whether how far we get through in the day. Let me get these out and so I can see what we've got. So everything's out now, and rather disappointingly, I've got a bit of mould. So as you can see on that tuber, we have got quite a bit of mould. There's mould on the stems, the old stems, which I'm not so concerned about because obviously they're old stems. And the same with this box here with another bit of mould there. I checked all of these out a month ago, so I thought I'd done well. I got rid of some that had got that had gone squishy, and in my bags I have some as well. It's the first time I have ever had any mould on my dahlias, so they've always survived well, but I have stored them differently than previously. I thought I'd come into the barn so you can get better sound. Yes, this year, because I had quite a few, more than I usually have, because I split them all last year, I stored them in the barn loosely like this. So normally I put them up into used compost and store them that way. So the 2 wine boxes that I used to build the tray on in the earlier part of this video, they would have the dahlias planted up in them over winter, in the dark, actually in a different barn. And this time we did have a very hard and long frost this winter. They're in a different barn and they're up against the wall, and I'm just wondering whether that wall was a bit damp. Anyway, I'm going to have to go through them all and see whether there's anything that can be saved out of them. This isn't the job that I thought that I would have, so I'm quite glad I'm doing it earlier than I was planning to do it, so that if I need to order some more, then that's what we need to do. Right, let me go through and see what we can end up with. Oh my goodness, that is all of the rotten dahlias that I need to throw away. Very disappointing. So this is what we have left. So a much smaller and diminished set. Fortunately, my new stuff is still fine. There are most of the ones that I've got. There are some of most of all of the varieties that I did have, although there has been some that have been completely wiped out. The dahlias that I have had to cut away some of the mouldy tubers will need to acclimatise to their cutting, so to basically heal the cut. So I can't plant those out today, but I will plant out what I can in the hopes that they will survive, and see where we get to from there. So the one that I lost the most of was Cafe au Lait, which is kind of a sought after dahlia, and it is lovely, but in the variety that I had last year, and again, I don't know whether this was because I split the tuber, because it was right in the first place. It should be a lovely peachy colour, and last year it had pink streaks in it, so it was kind of pinky going on peachy. It was nice. It was still a lovely dahlia, but not really for cut flowers, or not something that's easily used in a bouquet, because the flower heads are massive, so like dinner plate size, so they end up being quite difficult to manage in a normal bouquet. So they were going to go into the garden and I was going to give them away. So typically the ones that I've got the most of were the ones that I wasn't that bothered about anymore. So everything that has been thrown away or that's rotted, my theory was this year I was actually going to give some away anyway, because I knew I had too much. So the culling has been done for me. I'm not 100% convinced as to whether everything that I have potted up will grow, because it's difficult some tubers dry really wrinkly, and so it's difficult to know whether what's there is soft and squishy. I mean, some are really obvious, it's got soft and squishy and needs to be thrown away, but some were, I'm not sure. So I've planted them up. At best they can survive and grow. If I didn't plant them up, we wouldn't know. So they're planted up and we shall see. So let me show you what there is. So we have everything planted up on the new dahlia bed. So there's still quite a lot actually, and looking at that, now that I'm seeing it positioned out, that is going to fill the bed that I was planning on using anyway. So I'm not too concerned. As I say, I will check through the 3 that I've lost completely and see whether they're worth replacing at this point in time, or whether I just stick with what I've got. So the great thing about dahlias is that you can split the tuber, and each tuber, you know, they formed in lots of there's a clump of them normally. As long as a fat potato-like structure has a eye on it, then it will grow a new dahlia. So you can split them that way and you can propagate through that, or you can propagate through cuttings when they grow. So even though I have now planted these sooner than I was expecting to, it does give me the opportunity that if they grow early, then I can take cuttings from them and I'll still have plants flowering this autumn from the cuttings. So there's two opportunities with tubers to propagate. Oh my goodness. So there's two opportunities with dahlias to propagate. I've lost one because they've self-culled and got rid of quite a bit. But I can see whether any of the growth that I have can be propagated on from the from cuttings that I can take from the plant. So we'll leave it for a while. As I say, it's going to be cold for the next few days, which was why I was hesitant about doing all of this. But we shall see. They're going to be protected. They're going to be in the greenhouse. It's not a heated greenhouse, but it should be fine. I might cover them with a bit of fleece if it does get a bit chilly. But I think all should be well. So I think that's enough for today. I need to go and have a cup of tea and mull over my losses. Okay, until next time, I'll see you soon. Bye.